Good evening, cult members, and welcome to the Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
Welcome to our spoiler discussion instantly after the episode, wild speculation, they said his name, of Agatha All Along. This is episode 3, week 2. This one is called Through Many Miles of Tricks and Trials.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
And we saw the trial of tricks.
I love the first episode to kind of have the same kind of feel and discussion and everything of WandaVision with the episodic television. The first episode, and then the second episode was them coming together and going down the Wizard of Oz kind of getting your Tin Man and your
Tin Man, yeah.
And Teen is Toto.
She even called him Toto.
She does. But this episode was the first trial. But why they have to have a potions witch? Why they have to have a defense witch? Why they have to have a foreseer? Why they have to have a green witch? All that kind of stuff.
Right.
And that I'm really glad that kind of got explained very quickly.
Yes. I was getting there with kind of what they were talking about and stuff. I was getting there on my own, but then they just they put it right out there.
Put it right out there. This is also the Hamptons episode.
Yeah. Which I think is interesting. I'm trying to kind of understand what that so the witch, I don't remember her name. Is it on there? That was the potions witch.
Jennifer Kale.
So I don't know if that is like kind of her dream. I mean, she said, I look like my clients.
Yeah.
So maybe that had to do with it. I guess we'll kind of see more as we go along how each theme plays out with the person, with the witch that's in charge of figuring out the whatever the thing is.
Yeah. I really like that idea that each it's not just the witches together, the coven, going through the trial. It's each individual person going through their own version of the trials,
right,
to get to the end of the road, which is going to bring up a ton of questions when we get down the road with Agatha and Rio Vidal. That's Aubrey Plaza's character, because we've seen in the trailer that she shows up.
Right. Well, they're going to need an actual green witch at some point.
Yeah.
Agatha tried to kind of, game the system and bring Mrs. Hart, Sharon, along, and that hasn't worked out well. And, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, she's obviously not a witch. We were kind of hoping maybe she was. But Secretly. But she's obviously not. And so she's not the green witch. And I was thinking about it during this episode. I was like, what's going to happen when they get to whatever plant-based thing is? And she gardens,
right,
but I would think that it would have to do with it's not going to be a potion, but kind of that same idea where you take
gillyweed and
yeah, you need gillyweed's not a real thing.
But you understand the reference.
You need plant knowledge in order to figure out whatever it is. She wasn't going to be able to do it, so now she's, spoilers, dead.
I said spoilers at the beginning. Yeah.
So Aubrey Plaza's Rio Vidal is gonna have to.
Was it just me?
Show up. That's not an easy name to say. Is gonna have to show up and help him out.
Yeah. When they announced the basis of this idea about the witches going down the road, a lot of people were like, "Oh, people are gonna die." And I was like, I don't really think people will die. Now, as we sit right now, Sharon is dead. They showed her; she was obviously dead.
Yes.
They didn't get her the antidote for the poison in time. But I don't know if she's dead, or if like she shows up at the like at once they go back to Westview, she's like standing there or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But of all the characters that they were bringing in for this show and bringing back for this show, Mrs. Hart was not the person I had on my bingo card to die, let alone first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, I don't know. Did she die because she didn't drink the potion in time, or did she die because she drank the potion? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I loved how they left it ambiguous about why.
Again, she is not a witch, and
Right.
Agatha tried to bring her along anyway. So
She break her neck on the slide, the water slide.
right. Maybe she just died of shock. You know, she
Yeah.
obviously wasn't dealing with the whole situation very well. And I find all the hallucinations that everybody had.
That was where I was kind of going
pretty
next. I wanted to talk
interesting.
about like kind of the beginning of the episode where they were talking about like kind of what to expect on the road. Now because the last episode ended with them like appearing on the road,
Right.
and now they had to spend a few minutes of kind of what to expect on the road,
Right.
And then Sharon kind of has a little bit of a meltdown and is like, I'm gonna go sit down somewhere for a minute, and she starts to get absorbed by the moss.
Yeah.
That is
And the ground.
Yeah. And that took her purse, and they had to come and save her. And they set up rule number 1: don't leave the road.
Right.
This maybe should have been discussed
Right.
before we started going. But in that little segment, they also asked Teen who he is.
Yeah.
Now, in the last episode, when Teen tried to say who he was and kind of his backstory, Agatha couldn't hear it or see his mouth move or anything like that.
Right.
And I thought, I don't know about you, but I thought that it was more of a blocked for her specifically.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was blocked for her specifically.
Blocked for her. But no, it's blocked for everybody.
Yeah.
So there's a charm spell on there where he can't talk. He could talk about who he is and what his name is and stuff like that, but not necessarily everybody can hear it or perceive it or
right.
whatever.
And I'm assuming that it's just witches, because I feel like, I mean, he appears to have a normal life. Again, this is, you know, hexed, previously hexed, and now just people are just staying there. At Westview. So, but he had a boyfriend, significant other
And Eastview.
in Eastview.
Yeah.
So I would assume, I mean, he has some sort of outside life. He would have tried to tell other people who he is and what his name is, right? So I feel like it's just witches.
Witches. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot
Maybe
of
specifically these witches, but witches in general. They
Yeah,
can't.
it was it's
He's Mephisto.
What do you want to talk about the hallucinations or the Mephisto and the Darkhold? Like, because they dropped a ton of stuff on us in this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, but I agree. I like that he's the mystery. It's not the mystery of the Witch's Road and what's going to happen. It's going to be the horror of the week, episode to episode. Instead of having the television show week to week thing, we're going to have the horror of the week. And I'm not a woman. I can't speak for women. I have heard women say that their personal horror is the idea of the Stepford Wives Hamptons thing.
Some women
Some. I'm
feel
not
that
saying
way.
all, but some.
Well, and we were sitting here talking about it. So we are not. He doesn't do well with horror.
I don't do horror very
So
well.
we don't watch a lot of horror movies. But it almost felt Scream. Is it Scream? Yeah, where they're all like in the house
Yes,
and
and the murderer's in the house, but they don't know.
don't
Yeah,
go upstairs and don't have sex in a so they were always in some nice
yeah,
or not Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, like all those kind of what 90s early 2000s, like they all lived in super nice
yeah,
houses.
yeah, 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 yeah. It was just funny. Like they found after saving Sharon, the house shows up on the beachfront with the beach trail, so you follow the road.
Yeah.
Somebody asks, "Was that there before?" Agatha brings up the whole, "Let's just stop asking that question,"
Right.
right? Whatever. But it was this super nice house, and if the house is the actual place where the trial was going to be, it's interesting that the first house is this super nice Hamptons kind of style kind of thing. And then all of their clothes, they walked in, all of their clothes changed,
Yeah.
the door handles went away,
Yeah.
all that stuff. They drink some wine. I just find that whole, there was a choice made with that specific
Yeah, I'll be
thing.
interested to see if other people bring up something that we aren't thinking about.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
why that
absolutely.
was.
They all decide to have some wine because the wine shows up, and Sharon has the wine first. She chugs the whole thing.
She's had a day.
She's had a day. She's been eaten by a tree. She's on this stupid party that she wasn't even invited to until last minute, and it's not a party. She's been kidnapped, and so
Doesn't have any cell service. It took her purse.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So they all drink together, and Agatha kind of pours her in the plant to keep a straight, clear mind. I guess that's kind of how I took it. Was she was trying to keep a clear mind?
No, I think she knew it was poison and she wasn't gonna.
That probably makes more sense than mine, but whatever. But they Sharon makes a joke about okay, witches are I'm on this witch quest now, whatever. I'm not very witchy, but if I could drink the blood of a virgin to get rid of these wrinkles, I would do it. And she stands up and steps away with her back to the rest of the group, and all the girls are all having girl time on the couch together. They actually think they even talked about girl talk. And she turns around, and have you ever seen those plastic surgeries gone wrong? Her face looks like super over puffy, big lips and whatever. And it's a sign to the rest of the coven that it's actually poison, and that there's gonna. This is like the body transfer, the puffiness or whatever is the first stage, and then there's gonna be hallucinations, and then
Dizzy, and
then motor functions go away. So the rest of the coven have their body mistorphia. They had the bad plastic surgery faces. Except for Agatha, who tries to hide her face and like sound weird. And they all call her out on the "you didn't drink."
yeah.
She threw the glass down, breaking the glass full of wine.
She's trying to fast pass her way through.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
The road and through the trials, and just like yada yada her way through, and they're all like, no, you got to do all the things. You have to
do the work.
You got to do the work, or it's not going to happen.
I find that interesting too, because during the Salem segment of WandaVision, where they show that she's her original coven with her mother, tried to burn her at the stake. She absorbed their power as they blasted her with it. She talked about in that episode about doing all of the work, doing all the things to get to this powerful level where she could do this, absorb everybody else's power, which makes her more powerful. And now she's trying to not do that work again. It's that kind of really weird sports analogy, but the guy who blows up his, had an amazing career, has everything's come easy to him. He blows up his knee, and he doesn't want to do the rehab
Yeah.
to get back.
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of conversation, and she's constantly bringing up to the rest of the group, I don't like you, but I left you alone. She did that with Jennifer Kale when Kale was having a crisis of conscience, about a crisis of faith, essentially, when she wasn't able to figure out the potion, the antidote potion. And but she even when they got done with the slide, she was the first one to pop up, and she kind of kicked everybody out of her way.
Yeah,
and she did that in the last episode. This whole episode, she was sneaking around trying to open a door or get out of the thing.
I mean, this is gonna be her. I won't say redemption. She is going to have to become a better person, a better witch, to get, ultimately that's going to be her trial.
Yeah.
Is
to be a better person.
Be a better person, learn some empathy, learn to rely on others, the others in her, in this coven, not just be by herself. So that's what they're setting that up for her, that to be kind of her trial.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about the hallucinations before we get to what I think is the major Mephisto of it all. Okay, so each of the women, because Teen is too young to drink the wine, so they made a point of saying that multiple times. If they're going to call him Teen, the teen shouldn't be drinking on Disney Plus.
Right.
Even though he's probably like 25.
But it turns out it was a good thing he didn't.
Good thing he didn't. But Sharon's was her time in the Hex with Wanda when she did.
When Wanda was basically choking Mr. Hart at the very first episode.
Yep. And I like how it just happened.
Yeah.
It was just this kind of like they're having a regular conversation, and then Deborah Jo Rupp, who's just amazing. Like we need more of her in our lives. Like she was great on that '70s show, and she was great in WandaVision. But she showed in that episode, that first episode, how she, while Mr. Hart was choking, she laughingly said, "Stop it," the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And just like the emotion that was pouring out of her. And she did the same thing in this episode when she was having the hallucination of that. So it was just so well done. I love what they're doing with her, and then they killed her off. God damn it. Alice saw her mom in the dressing room the day her grandmother died. Let's see. Jennifer Kale saw
he's like a priest, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he didn't. Maybe he had a collar, and I wasn't paying attention.
No, it wasn't a collar, but he was almost dressed like in it was like choir robes, like
the baptism robes.
Yeah, or maybe baptism robes, and he was, gonna baptize her
through drowning.
Baptize her.
I still don't understand that part of Christianity. Actually, but
she is a witch.
She's a witch, right?
They drown them. They put them in water and make them float.
Yeah, and if you float, you're a witch. Your logic is. So she went through that. Lilla.
Lilia?
There you go, Lilia. Lilia saw a woman in Victorian clothes and followed her into a room where there was a live corpse and a skeleton walking with a big robe. And they said in the previous episode that she was like 400 years old. So that I'm taking that as the Black Plague.
Because that would have been 1600s.
1600s. Yeah. So and so she saw that, and then Agatha heard a baby crying, So we got to this that we want to talk about to get to Mephisto.
Go over here, and then you
It's
go over here.
welcome to one of our reviews where we're like talking about. But Jennifer, to help open the wine, went with Teen to the bar to find something, and she started questioning him a little bit about not trusting Agatha, and he was like, "Yeah, I know." And then she said something along the line of,
But do you know she supposedly sold her son for the black hole?
for the black hole, or at least that's the story. And he was like, "What?"
Yeah. Nope, I didn't know that.
And she also said something about being having create Mephisto creating a child, which is straight from the comics, because Wanda's children were spawn of Mephisto, which is one of the jokes that they kind of played with us when fake Pietro,
Right.
Pietro,
Fiat-
when he showed up, he called the kids demon spawn. And Eric from New Rockstars had been saying Mephisto the entire time, and then in this episode, they drop Mephisto's name and talk about the teen could possibly be a spawn of Mephisto, and that he needs to protect himself from whatever Agatha's trying to do. But then she also drops that Agatha supposedly had a child and then gave up that child for the Darkhold. Agatha's hallucination was hearing a baby cry and a bassinet. She walked over and pulled the blanket back, and the Darkhold was sitting there.
Right.
Now, I find that all very interesting that they dropped that Darkhold stuff. I'm wearing my Multiverse of Madness shirt because it's the last of my WandaVision shirts that I have, so I'll have to switch to another Marvel, maybe Hawkeye or whatever. But we've been speculating since Wanda's Red Flash that I don't necessarily know if the Darkhold is gone. And now I bring that up with the understanding in the back of my head that they have said and showed that the Darkhold has been destroyed in all the universes.
Right.
That was Wanda's last kind of gift to the multiverse and humanity.
Right. But if it was hidden as a child or some sort of...
That's where I was kind of going. What if there was a version of the Darkhold that is a person, and that person is Teen?
Maybe.
Because everybody's been like, he's Wiccan, he's Tommy,
Yeah.
that's what he is. What if in there somewhere the Darkhold manifested into a person?
Yeah.
Or Mephisto manifested the Darkhold with the understanding that Wanda had the ability to destroy it, all copies of it.
Yeah. Because it would make sense to try to protect at least one copy to disguise it to...
Yep.
Yeah.
They've hinted. There's no way of talking about Agatha without talking about Wanda and WandaVision and what happened there and what happened with the Darkhold and everything like that. But dropping Mephisto in that conversation adds another layer to this wild speculation about what the show is really trying to put in front of us. Now, at this point, all of my theories are null and void. It's not that I don't think that any of my theories are wrong. My main theory is that this series is to bring Scarlet Witch back for what's going to be happening down the road. We actually even said, because we had a delay in all the hallucinations, I even asked, what's Agatha's hallucinations going to be? And your first thing was Wanda. And it would be very interesting to have Elizabeth Olsen standing there with the black fingers, like coming through the mirror at her or whatever. But they already kind of did that gag in the first episode.
Right.
Or a version of that gag.
Right, yeah. A dead body.
A dead body and her name showed up on the tag. And that was all in her head. We all know it was in her head.
Yeah.
But that idea, but all of my theories are now out the window. And we've talked about this in the past. We engage in the story that's being told. We may speculate and have some fun, like, what if it's this, or what if it's that, or what if it's this? But once the story starts, we allow it to kind of go.
Right.
And so this idea that teen is Wiccan, Tommy, I'm totally letting go. I'm not saying that he's a physical manifestation in real life of the Darkhold either. It would be a cool story arc to bring the Darkhold back in. But I'm really like loving this mystery of what the continuation of this story is going to be.
Yep.
Because at this point in time, all we know, we have some couple of hints other than Rio showing up, which will probably be the next episode. We have no idea, like, what the final conflict is, what they're trying to get to, that kind of stuff.
Right. Yep. It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. I'm trying to think anything else we wanted to talk about in this episode. The hallucinations, the Darkhold, Mephisto. They killed off my favorite character. Yeah, I think that's everything that I kind of wanted to talk about. I want to make sure that we cover all the big things before we kind of.
Yeah, I think that was.
I think that's all the big hitters and stuff. So, let us know what you thought of this episode and our discussion about it in the comments down below. Please be nice. That is a requirement around here, and we kind of set up our room a little differently. So let us know on YouTube what you think. I know this is a for those of you on Spotify have no idea what's going on, but I'm trying to block the screen on the glass behind. Look, I can do magic tricks. Look, I'm a witch too. But please be nice in the comments and my silliness. If you're on the Spotify feed, please follow us there. If you're on the YouTube side, give us a like and subscribe there. Hit the bell for notifications. Follow us on all our social media stuff: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links in the description down below. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night now.